Dun, dun, da, da, dun, dun. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. It's been so long. I wonder what's going on. Oh, what the fuck? I just spawned. What happened? Oh, snap. Good. Oh, I didn't have to do that. I got a lot of physical. Holy, this is like my highest damaging guy. And a millennia. I just feel like, what do I feel like I should not be going in with this weapon right here? Okay, let me just get my bearings back. Circle is dodge. This is a light attack. This is hard. Yeah, it's heart attack. People died just like me? No, they were definitely inside. Oh wow. Using like a weapon thing. Oh damn. Well damn, this guy's ready as well. What kind of weapon is bro holding? That's what I'm saying right now, bro. Like I don't know if I could be with this weapon. There's like so many better weapons I could choose from. No, I don't have that weapon. Cool ass weapon though. Blasphemous blade. Sword of Milos. Let's do this. I just saw my guy. I just feel like I won't be able to beat this guy alone. Tears ahead. Good luck. Posture. Nothing good. Nothing good was said there. How do I... Okay, how do I do it? I died. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not strong enough. This is not gonna carry me to this fight. Like, I don't feel like I'm equipped to fight this guy. The only problem, I have to upgrade everything. And how much do I have of everything? I have... Oh. I feel like I have enough to upgrade something. I'm starting to realize maybe not, because like, I got barely 3. Let's go to the next. I feel like I need more than 3. Let's think for a second. I don't want to make a mistake and like upgrade something I'm not even sure will be good for me. So what we will do is oof. That's not gonna do me good. That's definitely not gonna be any good for me. All of these are terrible, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Switching up my build is kind of hard. My messages are praised. I don't even remember the messages I left behind. I'm not gonna lie to you. What the hell? These are daggers. These are blades. These are swords. They're all pretty weak. Alright, let's give it a second. I'm gonna search up what I should be doing. I'm doing a gesture, am I not? I said that's how I do gestures. Where's my smith? No. I have absolutely no idea. Don't even ask how I beat this dude. Pain in the ass. Okay, that's all I gotta say. Biggest pain. Alright, let me just search it up real quick. Best weapons upgrade. Gold. Then I might not be able to pick, but whatever. Best weapon, Elden Ring. Top 10 best weapons.
Okay, you guys know what time it is. It is time to talk about the 10 best weapons in Elden Ring. Now, quick disclaimer, I am limiting it to one weapon per weapon class because I like putting y'all onto some variety. And I know there are so many amazing weapons in this game. This list is indeed biased. And at the end of the day, we're here to have fun and talk about some dope-ass weapons in Elden Ring. So let's get right into it. Number 10, the Blasphemous Blade. Honestly, I was having a really hard time deciding between this and the Claymore. Both are top-tier greatswords in this game, but I simply can't look past how strong the Blasphemous Blade is in PvE and invasions. Obviously, the highlight of this weapon is the unique Ash of War Taker's Flames. You raise your sword in the air, slam it down, sending out a line of eruptions in front of you. When it lands, you get great damage, and it heals you for 10% of your HP. On top of that, as long as you have the blade equipped, every enemy that dies near you will grant you 4% of your max HP back. You basically have infinite sustain with this sword. It can also stack with other healing effects to make it even more potent. For the moveset, you get the basic greatsword moveset, which is nothing to scoff at. Any enemy that is weak to fire, which there are a lot of them, is going to get vaporized in no time at all. Even against enemies and bosses who aren't weak to fire, the raw power and healing effects will absolutely carry you. All of this makes the sword an absolute beast in PvP, especially in multi-combat scenarios like invasions. Your flask disadvantage won't feel nearly as bad because of, again, all the healing. You can easily hit multiple people with one Ash of War. Free aiming is incredibly easy. Switching targets during the startup of the Ash will definitely catch other players off guard. Even in duels where you think this weapon wouldn't shine as much, it's still very reliable. There are reasons why the Blasphemous Blade has been hyped up for so long. Some would maybe consider it overhyped, but I get why it's used and loved by so many players. This ain't no great sword. This is a goat sword, my friends. I still really love the Claymore though. That moveset is so nasty. You can get the Blasphemous Blade once you defeat Rykard in Volcano Manor and get his remembrance. Number 9, Claws of Night. AKA the Shotgun from Hell. From Software absolutely cooked with this one. The Claws of Night are, of course, dex-oriented claw weapons, but with a nice little twist. The heavy attacks are actually ranged throwing attacks, though you only send out a few needles. Regardless, they don't cost any FP, and having ranged attacks on a claw weapon is already insane. Then the Ash of War Scatter Shot Throw is basically the heavy attack on steroids. You wind up and send out a scatter shot of black needles. With buffs from the Shard of Alexander and Smithing Talisman, as well as the innate bleed buildup that comes on the weapon, the damage you get out of these claws is mind-boggling. The needles can headshot and stagger enemies, the bleed proc is damn near instantaneous if you land a scatter shot throw, constantly getting chip damage and applying pressure with the heavy attacks too. And remember, if anyone gets close, you still have claw light attacks to use, which are some of the quickest attacks out there. Easily one of the best dueling weapons in the game. You can quickly burst down and shred any enemy. The simple fact that the Claws of Night double as a really powerful ranged option, it basically covers the weaknesses that claws normally have. Buffable, versatile, unique, and a lot of fun. You really can't ask for much more out of a weapon. The Claws of Night drop from Sword Hand of Night Anna at the Finger Ruins of Metter in the DLC. Number 8, the Falx. The whole design behind this weapon and its unique Ash of War Revenger's Blade is run up to an enemy and absolutely spaz out. Trust me, I know it looks goofy, but you do not want to get hit by these. Dual-wielding curved swords is already one of the strongest setups. Now pair that with one of the best unique ashes to be put into Elden Ring, and you have the Falx. 55 bleed buildup per hit, typical dual curved sword moveset, and yes, this is a paired weapon, so you don't need to get two of them to dual wield. With the basic moves alone, you can put in some work. Then, Revenger's Blade comes into the equation. The first stage of the Ash is a run-up execution style move that has amazing tracking. You can manipulate the path you take. You have slashes that makes the 55 to land than the rest. It's so clean and simple, and depending on how you hit, the Blood Fiend's arm is the bleed weapon. With how powerful the bleed status effect is, it's impossible to ignore the colossal weapon that can one-tap bleed anything that can be bled. It's an arcane strength armament that is infusible and has they make contact, meaning all you have to do is put on bleed affinity. And the heavy combat, the blood number 6, Clean Rot Knight Sword. Stab, run, stab, quick stab, another quick stab, stab, run, stab, stab. Be real, thrusting. Every attack is a poke, and they are some of the safest and quickest pokes in the game. In duels, you can smother your opponents to death with basically no risk, even if opponent button and walk. Sure, you're not getting ashes. I'm just gonna say it. This weapon's bullshit. There's a reason why people who are afraid of losing will immediately switch to it when their health gets low in PvP. You can turn your brain off and smoke everything in your way. It's cracked. And it has a 4% chance to drop from Clean Rot Knights who are wielding it. Number 5. Lance. Really, most of the great spears could go here. In general, it's an over-tuned weapon class. Everything I'm going to say about the lance, besides the fact it's infusible, holds true for basically every other great spear out there. It really comes down to what you're comfortable with and what you prefer. I'm going with the lance because, well, for starters, you can get it in the beginning of the game. It's found in a Godric soldier camp in Limgrave that is southwest of the Death-Touched Catacombs. And as long as you have 20 strength and 14 dex, you're good to go from there. Simple poke moveset with slashing heavies, really good reach, amazing damage. You get good scaling with pretty much any affinity, allowing it to be used comfortably in all kinds of builds. You get one of the best Ash of War selections in the game. Things like Ice Spear, Flame Skewer, Earth Shaker, Thunderbolt, Cragblade, Waves of Darkness. It's really a pick your poison situation. It's honestly tough to make a bad lance build. It's been consistent since release. I haven't even mentioned the dual wield moveset. If you go into duels, you'll probably come across 5 different players, all wearing solitude armor, with 2 lances. And yes, these are the same people that pull out the Clean Rot Knight Sword when they start losing. Swear to God, it's like the fucking Buzz Lightyear aisle in arenas now. It's honestly sad. But that's neither here nor there. The lance is a great weapon. Personally, I love running an Ice Spear setup on it. It demolishes everything in the game. With the lance fucked, the Carrion Thrusting Shield is a beast. A weapon you can block and attack with at the same time. FromSoft, y'all were off your rockers with this one. What are we doing, boys? You get a light attack string, heavy attack string, and a blocking attack string. You can block and counter attack with no risk in most scenarios.
Alright, this is all PvP. Okay? Give me. You know what? It's looking like the Blasphemous Blade is gonna get the perk ups. The only problem is I don't have the faith to carry the Blasphemous Blade. Okay? I'm not faithful in the Blasphemous Blade. Oh shit, that's the best. Oh, no, this is the best. Sword of Milos. How come Sword of Milos? Oh, wow. What is the what? Sword of Milos, you're getting the upgrade, bro. I'm not gonna lie, I fuck with the Sword of Milos already. Alright, we're getting a Sword of Milos, and what was it again? I gotta go find that guy with the... How do I get to that guy? I forgot. Western... Where do I go to get my Realm of Shadow? Where do I go? There's a blacksmith in the Realm of Shadow? R1? Oh my gosh. Whatever, dude. Alright. Soda miles to get an upgrade of a lifetime. Oh, it's you.
I don't believe we've met. I'm known as D. I hunt down those who live in death and weed their death root. Heed my warning. Those who live in death should be left well alone. All the more should you spy a mariner among their number. Unless you wish to lay down your life in vain.
Alright, my boy. What's wrong with your brother? Why are you covering his eyes? Oh my goodness. It's BBG. I'm not a new face. What do you mean? What do you mean, bro? Wait, what? I have no runes? I'm runeless. Bro, what? Really? I'm runeless? Really, dude? I don't believe it. How could I be runeless? I guess I can get some crazy runes there. I don't freaking know. Alright, looks like we're chasing runes tonight, boys. So, yeah. Wait, what? Where's my, oh, okay.
You there. Could you help us out, Cully?
I know that quest, but I'm not doing it. Oh, you thought, my boy? No way. Oh no. Oh. Yo, boys, not getting clapped by a soldier, bro. Woo! Alright. Take some of that. Get out of here. It's been a minute since I played the Elden Ring. Well, looks like I missed. Back up, my boys. I'm not trying to mess with y'all. So this is the Elden Ring. Hey, what? Go here first. Take that off. It's up here, yeah. Got an email real quick. Let me check. CVS help requested? I might. But that's whatever. I'm getting off. Can I get off the overview? Okay, and then I'm gonna do that. How do I get off? Get off, please. Okay, that's fine. Alright. Yeah. This is gonna be easy. Maybe. Alright, bro. Oh, no! Oh, wow! Okay. Alright, let me drink real quick. I haven't done a single damage to this guy, I'm not gonna lie. Oh no! I got this, trust! Oh no! Alright, wait! Wait. Oh, wow. I'm in a battle, so I can't do shit. I can't pause the game or nothing. Oh, no, baby boy. Back up. Oh, baby boy. Yeah. Woohoo. No! Ah! Easy. Sword of Milos. Causes blood buildup. How about we go for swords? Because it's a sword. I said best swords. Okay, I didn't say best weapons. Okay, it's not showing me. Straight. The most recent was 8 months ago,
There are
so
23 straight swords in Elden Ring, 4 of which coming from the DLC. In straight swords, but the best thing about FP at all, always based on a useful tier list. Moveset, so there's like no reason to use it. Amazing kills range, it gets a bit more damage, and it does a lot of the other that gets a descaling, mediocre weapon, descaling and intelligent, good weapons, the best. Now that wouldn't just be another magic straight sword with a descaling and is not damage. Now it does skill on DLC, and its entire purpose is to be transformed into either the Sword of Light or Sword of Darkness. It was never really straight sword in the games, and having script and do the job is that the skill is just meant to be the better critical attack. Number 16, the McKellen Night Sword, which when it's not with other charged, but yeah, if this thing does is never gonna wake up and get critical attacks on enemies that are put sleep is still very mediocre scalings, but just the overall. Number 14, the Sword of Darkness, another faith holy based strength descaling in that one. It is a very it is useless at good, especially because the other stats get descalings. Last Rite is an aura buff that does boost your damage against undead enemies. Fight some twice as much damage to. It's very similar to the Sword of Darkness in that it has expensive. So as a that gets mainly crystal sword in almost every single way, just a bit less damage. 30 seconds as the Noble Slender Sword and the Warhawk. I still wouldn't. Instead, that the is going to output really high DPS. Now for really high level attack types of items, you can gonna stagger out of all the straight swords. And this one actually can be one of the. But the scaling, they consider it the best. They consider it to be as good as the nice double sword. This in the game, it's just straight up. It's not like the way. Straight sword does get some con and the shot and have high straight swords, so there's openings very similar damage. Again, if you are gonna hand it or power stance the broadswords do, scale best of strength. Number 3, the Lord Sworn straight sword to what I think looks the best. Number 2, the Coded Sword, which is a pure faith, pure holy straight sword in this game. A lot more enemies for only like to nobody's surprise of a deal. It's a very good straight sword, gets some nice range, gets decent damage, gets the regular straight sword moveset, gets access to both magic and fire damage, which do complement each other very nice. Does put you in a stance with different types. As for the next video, is probably going to be the Great Swords ranked, which there also are a lot of Great Swords in the game too.
oh,
so
great sword. Oh, I'm so stupid, bro. Best great swords. Another thing. Alright, bro. Alright.
The greatsword weapon category is one of the more popular, a bit more damage, but unfortunately, you drop to a flame, it's a project and the project, so therefore it does the exact same range too. Small, that is not
Knight's great
again
sword,
passive
health and
to your frostbite
steeple.
follow-up attack. Like seriously, if the weapon skill of this weapon actually long animation, the worst range, and actually get some of the lowest damage out of all of the infusible going to be that high. It does get the same moveset as the Claymore FP. The Hors d'oeuvres does get the same generic greatsword moveset, 5 to your strength stat, and it does change.
Wow, Sword of Mars is that? Whoa.
Faster anime as a second more FP, last 40 seconds. So actually can number animation, but with this weapon it just adds a black flame over the top. It does look like it's a bunch more
Okay,
damage.
so we're not using
Light
Sword of
attack combo
Mars.
being a bit faster than the other greatsword. If you're going to be spamming the greatsword, could do pretty nice. Reflecting build can be very decent. Now greatswords are still not going to be the best at guard countering. They're not going to be the fastest, they're not going to hit the hardest, nor do as much stance damage. Things like great hammers or even regular hammers can be reminiscent of vacuum slice. Slice cannot, at this instance, but you do have different parts in general. So in most so it's a good solid overall weapon, but it does lack spell synergy due to it not held in the game. But it is also one of the lightest. But there are going to be two separate things about this weapon that does make it a top 10 greatsword option, and that's one is going to be its heavy attack. For whatever reason, this thing just gets Colossal Sword heavy attack motion values, so this gets just as much damage as Colossal Swords with its heavy, and its skill is going to be a very solid option as well. It is just like a reskinned version of Gravitas, and I typically don't like Gravitas because it's a short range skill, any infusion type of build that you want.
No, I'm getting called right now.
PLI 154 calling on a recorded line for Monica Holbrook. Is that you, Monica? Hello?
What the frick?
The Claymore to what I consider the best infusible greatsword in this game, and that is purely because of its heavy attack being a poke. The weapon is not going to get as much range or as much damage as a lot of the other types of infusible greatswords, but having a poking heavy just brings so much variety to your moveset, because greatswords already get horizontal and vertical swipes with their light attack combos, and now having a one-handed or two-handed poke just adds so much more to it, because there are a lot of enemies in this game that are weaker to piercing damage, and going with these charged heavy attack builds with things alongside the Spirit Talisman and getting off a counter attack is going to result in such stupid amounts of damage, but it still is a decent damaging greatsword, so you can just go into a bunch of different types of skills and then spam them and get some nice damage that way too. Now you might be questioning why like the best infusible greatsword is not going to get higher on the list and only going to get at number 7, and that's because that the Iron Greatsword and the Claymore are actually balanced, and the things that are going to appear above these weapons are just not. Like, for number 6, the Sacred Relic Sword, which is a Dexterity Faith-based greatsword, does get some split holy damage, although some more physical. So if you are going to go up against some enemies that are really resist to holy damage, you can just use a lot of attacks and actually benefit still greatly. And if you actually manage to get a stance break, you also benefit greatly as well, because this thing gets 110 crit. It also does get the most range out of all the greatswords, but even then, the best part about the weapon is going to be its skill. Wave of Gold, which is basically just an ad-clearing machine. There is no better crowd control weapon skill in the entire game. This thing just destroys everything in one room. The skill just goes so incredibly far in such a wide radius, does some nice damage, does knockback damage, and it's just really easy to use as well. Like, people just treat this thing as like a glorified farming tool, but it basically treats the whole game like this. Like, the only downsides I can say about the skill is that it's not going to be that viable in a boss fight, because the FP cost is large, the stamina cost is high, and the total overall damage is not that good. But with how easy it is to use and how easy it is for the skill to actually land, you could definitely cheese bosses with this thing too. Number 5, the Hors d'oeuvres greatsword, to what I consider one of the best stance-breaking weapons in the game, does get a nice strength and faith-based scaling, some split holy damage, which obviously this damage type has gotten better in the DLC, and in fact the total AR of this weapon can be very comparable to the Blasphemous Blade, but obviously its skill is what's going to make this thing broken in Hors d'oeuvres Vortex. For only 15 FP, you do this short-range AoE attack that comes out very fast, does some nice damage, it staggers enemies pretty well, and does about 20 stance damage, but when you have this thing fully charged, it's just broken. The animation might be a little bit long, but you do get some nice hyper armor, and the returns are just insane. You do just monstrous amounts of damage, you flatten smaller enemies to the ground, and you do 66 stance damage, which means that all different types of knights or omens are just going to get stance broken in just one attack, and you can just pair this thing alongside the stone barb cracks too, which is going to make you do over 80 stance damage, which a decent amount of humanoid bosses in this game do have 80 poise. So yeah, this thing is just an absolute stance breaking machine with just high amounts of damage. Like, it's really good. Like, the only downside is that it's going to be short range, and a slightly longer animation. That is it. Number 4, the Mariah's Executioner's Sword. Now, I see this weapon very similar to how I see the Ordovis's Greatsword, in that its skill is going to be a longer animation, potentially shorter range type of skill, but it has such great benefits. Ordovis's Greatsword doing really high stance damage, whereas the Mariah's Executioner's Sword is just going to do really high amounts of just raw damage. This thing just destroys everything. It is a strength arcane-based Greatsword, can get very high amounts of AR. Unfortunately, with this stat split, you're not going to get much synergy with different types of spells. Whereas for something like the Ordovis's Greatsword, that one's going to get good synergy because of the claw mark skill. And the skill of the weapon is easier to build around because you only really need to have the Godfrey's icon. Whereas for the Mariah's Executioner's Sword, being that it hits multiple times in quick succession, you're going to benefit a lot more of things like the Thorny Cracks tier and the multi-hit talismans. Because without those things, the damage is not that good. But once you acquire them, you just have an absolutely busted skill. This thing just does monstrous amounts of damage, has some nice hyper armor, it's incredibly cheap, you get an uncharged version, a fully charged version, and you can even cancel the animation halfway through as well. Like, the skill doesn't look like it's supposed to be that good, but as you can see, the damage is just absurd. Like, this is what it does to bosses. Number 3, the Death's Poker, which is an intelligence and dexterity-based greatsword. The total overall damage is not going to be as high as some other types of greatswords. The intelligence scaling that it does get is only a D, but it is a pretty deceptive D scaling because it actually scales very well, and going all into intelligence is going to benefit it greatly, especially because its skill does scale off it, which is going to be the reason why this thing is just broken, because the skill Ghost Flame Ignition just does so much damage. It summons a ball that you can turn into a fire trail projectile, or just explode it, and either one is going to be really good. The trail projectile, it just does so much damage, and against all these enemies that stand inside of it, they're going to get poked with frost basically instantly, and just have their health bars just get destroyed, and it does it in a nice projectile as well. Like, this thing just chases basically everything in the entire game. It just does that much damage, even against enemies that cannot be poked with frost. Now, unfortunately, this weapon does have a couple of downsides. The major one being its heavy attack, which the attack itself is okay. It is a nice lunging attack that does cover some nice distance, but unfortunately, it just does a lot less stance damage than all of the other greatsword heavy attacks, and I don't know why. It gets like just a bit over half the amount of stance damage that the other greatswords get, which is kind of annoying because your skill doesn't do good stance damage, so your next best bet is going to be your heavy attack, and this isn't going to do it either. But if you just spam the skill, everything's just going to die anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Number 2, the Dark Moon Greatsword, which is a pure intelligence type weapon, does get a bit of a strength scaling, but just going all into int is just going to benefit you the most. The weapon does get some nice passive frost build up, and does get really high amounts of AR in general, but its skill, Moonlight Greatsword, does actually boost the weapon with even more magic damage and even more frost build up, to where it does make it one of the hardest hitting magic types weapons, and it's just going to get frost on top of that, and frost is an amazing status effect as enemies just take 10% damage, and gets debuffed to take 20% more damage over the next 20 seconds. But when this weapon is buffed, it also turns your heavy attacks into a projectile. And being that it's a heavy attack, it's not going to consume any FP. So you can just get free projectile heavy attacks that are going to do some really good damage and hit pretty hard. Now, since the DLC patch, it no longer does the same amount of stance damage that it once did, but if you are at these closer ranges, it is going to be very similar. So not only is it going to be one of the hardest hitting types of heavy attacks, it's also going to stance break pretty quickly, and also just proc frost really fast too. And the fact that you can just do this insane attack with not consuming any FP is just stupid. Like, projectile attacks just cheese the entire game. You don't have to engage with an enemy at all. You can just sit at a safer distance and just keep spamming. And for something that does as much damage as this, all while not consuming any types of FP, is pretty broken. Number 1, the Blasphemous Blade. I don't even know how many ranking videos I've made to where the Blasphemous Blade was at number 1, but we can just add this one to the list too. It's a strength faith weapon that gets stupid amounts of AR, hits really hard, gives you health regen on kills, its weapon skill goes stupidly far, does dumb damage, especially now because of things like the Talisman of the Dread. It gives you health regen on every single hit for some reason, so it makes for the perfect pairing alongside the Bloodsucking Cracked tier. So yeah, this is like the...
Bro, what? Blasphemous Blade is just... Why is this so crazy? Faith is all I need. My strength is pretty high, I guess. Let's just see how it looks. Blasphemous Blade is a go, that's all I gotta say. I have absolutely no... Oh snap, I didn't even do that. No way of What was it again? Why do I have random? I don't have random ones. Yeah, I do. Right there. I gotta go over here. Oh no. Is there a grace around here? Any chance? Any? At all? There isn't. It's freaking great, man. Let's just go to the lady anyways. See how we can change her stats up. I'm gonna make a blasphemous blade build.
The new McCrispy strip is here. Tip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, butter, mustard, honey mustard.
All we need is some guidance. Because I've been playing this game without guidance the entire time. And I need some guidance, so. Alright? Cut me some slack.
Two guys. Neither got a worth receipt. One guy got a ticket, one guy didn't. Two guys drove home from work. One guy wore his seatbelt, one guy didn't. One guy made it home. One guy didn't.
Hey guys, it's Paradise, and just when you thought you had the strongest build figured out, it turns out an old classic, the Blasphemous Blade, is actually one of the most powerful, easy to use, and fun to play weapons with the right build. If you're a true OG thing member, over 2 years ago I made a video showing off my personal faith build utilizing the Blasphemous Blade, and honestly that build still absolutely slaps. But you guys have been asking for an update since the new Shadow of the Erdtree DLC release. Well, now after a bunch of playtesting and theory crafting, there's a few tweaks and new items to optimize this build even further, taking it to a whole new level. Honestly, it feels like the DLC added in items that specifically synergize with this, bringing it from an already S-tier weapon to an SSS tier weapon. So here's the updated build guide, going over all of the items, gear, spells, flask, armor, and stats that you need to get this build going and become unstoppable. Drop a like and comment below to let us know if you enjoyed the video and build. So let's jump into it, and this build revolves around the Blasphemous Blade, its insane skill, the Taker's Flame, fire damage in general, power sensing great swords for incredibly strong jump attacks, as well as faith incantations. The Blasphemous Blade can be obtained by defeating Rykard, the Lord of Blasphemy, and trading his remembrance at the Round Table Hold. It requires 22 strength, 15 dex, and 21 faith, but at plus 10, it has primary scaling in faith at B rank, making it perfect for pure faith builds. Outside of its busted unique skill, it also gives you 4% max HP and 40 flat HP whenever an enemy nearby you dies, making it great for traversing through any of the levels in the DLC or the base game. And the unique skill Taker's Flame not only deals massive damage over a long distance, but also heals you for 10% max HP and 150 flat on top. So for both burst damage...
Hello?
Llegaron los de internet, ¿no?
Sí.
Ya tenemos otro internet, entonces.
Sí.
¿Cuándo hay que devolver eso del espectro?
Hasta hasta el tercer día del mes que viene.
Oh, o sea, como está pagado este mes por eso.
Sí, ya está pagado ya. Si no lo regresamos ese día, estamos pagado otro.
Decirle a tu mamá que le estoy llamando, que...
Ok, ahora voy a decir, yo creo que está durmiendo con Elodie.
Oh, se está durmiendo todavía.
Okay. I'm right back, guys. Give me 1 second. Back.
Ability, you can cast or straight spam this skill, deleting bosses in literally just a few casts. You're going to want a seal on the build to make use of your faith buffs and incantations, and with our pure faith, the Erdtree seal is our top option with massive scaling at +10 due to our high faith. You can get this near the Omen Killer enemy in the town, just spam this skill, deleting bosses in literally just a few casts. You're going to want a seal on the build to make use of your faith buffs and incantations, and with our pure faith, the Erdtree seal is our top option with massive scaling at +10 due to our high faith. You can get this near the Omen Killer enemy in the town just below the prison town church site of Grace in the Volcano Manor. For your offhand weapon that you'll swap to when power stancing, I actually recommend the Iron Greatsword when infused with Flame Art, and then any Ash of War that you like, and the new Flame Skewer and Flame Spear are fantastic. This greatsword has possibly the highest attack power for physical and fire when spec'd into Flame Art. Use of our many fire stacking buffs and our power stance attacks will also become more powerful when doing melee or jump attacks because they're both great swords, and this is also piling onto the already existing fire damage. You can get the Iron Greatsword at the Halleck-Tree Town Plaza site of Grace and farm the misbegotten enemy that's just nearby. There's a few alternatives if you don't want to use the Iron Greatsword though. The Sword of Milos has a passive FP regen when defeating enemies, which of course works nice with the HP regen of the Blasphemous Blade. The Sacred Sword is also OP for the Wave of Gold skill if you're dealing with a lot of trash mobs, and my personal favourite from the original build I made, the Golden Order Greatsword, which also power stances but will give you a ton of holy damage, so that's good depending on the enemy's resistances you're fighting. Of course, depending on the offhands you want to bring, you may need to tweak your dex stat later on. For our armor though, the new Rakshasas will be our go-to. It's a whole armor set where each piece increases all of the damage we deal by 2% each, but also increases the damage we take. But with all of the healing and the pure damage of the Blasphemous Blade, the extra damage is not a problem. It basically means we hit 8% harder in all of our attacks and skills. You can get this one in the Eastern Nameless Mausoleum, nearby the upstream or downstream Recluse's River Grace Point. Then for our talismans, the Fire Scorpion Charm is a must-pick. It will lower our damage negation, but gives us a massive 12% boost to all fire damage, and we're doing a lot of fire damage with this build with Taker's Flame and the fire damage on the weapon attacks, so this is a must-pick. Then we have the new Talisman of the Dread. This increases magma potency by 14%, but interestingly it applies this bonus to the Taker's Flame skill, making it a new direct upgrade to the build, so this is also a must-have. You can easily grab this by starting at the Castle Front Grace Point and following this route.
In this video, I'm gonna show you the most broken build for the Blasphemous Blade to completely destroy Elden Ring in Hugin +7. Normally, this is the damage you deal with this weapon if your character is not properly optimized. But with the following setup, you will be able to deal real damage. With this one, we are going to use the Blasphemous Blade on +10, any seal we have available to cast ring buffs, and any weapon with the Raptor of the Vista Cuarto easily dodge any difficult attack. I'm gonna be using the Rakshasas armor set that will increase our damage by a total of 8% when wearing the entire set. I am doing this because we are in newbie plus 7, so we will need more damage. However, if you are not very used to the movesets of the boss fights, I recommend you to go for defense, because in newbie plus 7 the bosses deal more damage and you can get one-shotted even with this one. The best talismans we can use for this build are the Shard of Alexander, the Fire Scorpion Charm, the Talisman of the Dread, and the All Lord's Talisman. In our Flask of Wondrous Physic, we are going to use the Blood-Sucking Praktir and the Flame Shrouding Praktir. This build consumes a decent amount of stamina, so be sure to grab some picket turtlenecks to boost your stamina regeneration speed. To increase our fire damage dramatically, we are going to use the hefty oil pots or the regular oil pots. The heavy ones will increase our next fire damage instance by 65%, while the regular oil pots will do it by 50%. Both are very useful, so feel free to use the one you like the most. To get the most out of this weapon and to have an optimal build, we are going to use 50 on Vigor, 30 on Mind, 40 on Endurance, 25 on Strength, 18 on Dexterity, and 99 on Faith. Golden Vow and Hall of Shabriri are going to be our main buffs. If you wish, you can use the Blessing of the Earth Tree to counter the HP drain effect of the Blood-Sucking Praktir, but it is completely optional. And as we are running 99 on Faith, feel free to use any incantation you wish. I was testing Born of Flame, but it's not as good as you might think it will be. As you can see, I have my Scattering Blessing on the level 20. If you want to deal the same damage I'll be dealing with the hardest DLC bosses, be sure to have it on the level 20 as well. Now I'll show you how to use this build. First we have to use our Flask of Wondrous Physic, then we are going to cast Blessing of the Earth Tree if we wish. It's completely optional. Now we are going to cast Golden Vow, and immediately after that, optional as well, we can use a Pickled Turtleneck. Then we are going to use our body buff. In this case it's Hall of Shabriri, but you can also use Flame Grant You Strength. However, that one doesn't last as long as Hall of Shabriri, but it doesn't make you take extra damage. Refill your FP, your HP, and with that you should be ready to go. If you want to deal more damage with this build, be sure to hit your target with the hefty or regular oil pot before using the skill. I forgot to mention that you can deal even more damage by using the poison buffs, because they stack very well with the healing features of the Blasphemous Blade. However, it's completely optional, and as the build is already pretty good, I'm not gonna use them. The important part here will be using the hefty oil pots to deal additional damage on the bosses. It's very important. Another important thing is trying to hit the bosses with the second. We will get the most out of the buff. Because if we hit the target too close, the hit that will be buffed with the hefty oil pot will be the slash of the weapon, not the magma part of the Ashen War. Indeed, it's a lot easier than trying to attack at close range. Using the oil pots is completely optional, guys, but I don't know why you would like to use these items. They are very, very easy to use, and your damage is increased by a lot. They are indeed very easy to use, bro. I will try to buff it now. I don't know if it will preserve the buff. Oh yeah, it does. That's amazing. Now I'll take some distance here, because the most important part, as I told you before, is the magma part, not the physical part of the weapon. Okay, with the early game bosses is being destructive. The cool part here is that the first phase is extremely fast, so we don't have to worry about nothing. Okay, I think that guy is behind that thing. No, that's terrible, bro. Oh my god, I'm very lucky! I'm very lucky! No way! No way! That was insane, bro. Let's get it, let's get it. All good, guys, all good, baby, come on. And now instead of throwing it from away, I'll try to do it at close range. And I'll back up. And I'll use it here. Okay, that's a lot of damage indeed. Now we gotta be careful here with the doubles. But we just need to hit her once. Okay, this is being really annoying. No? No way! We played it smart and it worked. As soon as we finish with Hall of Shabriri, we'll throw the pot. I hope it will land. It's closer than... No way, it landed! That's amazing. The problem here is that I need to be far away from this guy in order to deal the max amount of damage possible. Now I need to be close. That is the funny part. Oh, I'm very good at this game, bro. Let's go. Okay, this fight is easy. So once we land our first attack, we should be winning this game, bro. Okay. Go to here. New game plus 7. Normally, this is the damage you deal with this weapon if your character is not properly optimized, but with the following setup, you will be able to deal real damage. With this one, we are going to use the Blasphemous Blade on +10, any seal we have available to cast torment buffs, and any weapon with the Raptor of the Vistage Award to easily dodge any difficult attack. I'm gonna be using the Rakshas's armor set that will increase our damage by a total of 8% when wearing the entire set. I am doing this because we are in New Game +7, so we will need more damage. However, if you are not very used to the movesets of the boss fights, I recommend you to go for defense, cause in New Game +7 the bosses deal more damage and you can get one-shotted if you use this one. The best talismans we can use for this build are the Shard of Alexander, the Fire Scorpion Charm, the Talisman of the Dread, and the All Lord's Talisman. In our Flask of Wondrous Physic, we are going to use the Blood-Sucking Crack Tier and the Flame Shrouding Crack Tier. This build consumes a decent amount of
Why
stamina, so be sure to
is it like bad the thought or something?
to increase our fire damage dramatically, we are going to use the Hefty Oil Pods or the regular Oil Pods. The heavy ones will increase our next fire damage instance by 65%, while the regular Oil Pods will do it by 50%. Both are very useful, so feel free to use the one you like the most. To get the most out of this weapon and to have an optimal build, we are going to use 50 on Vigor, 30 on Might, 40 on Endurance, 25 on Strength, 18 on Dexterity, and 99 on Faith. Golden Vow and Howl of Shabriri are going to be our main buffs. If you wish, you can use the Blessing of the Earth Tree to counter the HP drain effect of the Blood-Sucking Tier, but it is completely optional. And as we are running 99 on Faith, feel free to use any incantation you wish. I was testing Born of Flame, but it's not as good as you might think it would be. As you can see, I have my Scatter Blessing on the level 20. If you want to deal the same damage I'll be dealing on the hardest DLC bosses, be sure to have it on the level 20 as well. Now I'll show you how to use it on the level 20. If you want to deal the same damage I'll be dealing the hardest DLC boss is testing Born of Flame, but it's not as good as you might think it would be. As you can see, I have my Scatter Blessing on the level 20. If you want to deal the same damage I'll be dealing on the hardest DLC bosses, be sure to have it on the level testing by 65%, while the regular oil pods will do it by 50%. Both are very useful, so feel free to use the one you like the most. To get the most out of this weapon and to have an optimal build, we are going to use 50 on Vigor, 30 on Might, 40 on Endurance, 25 on Strength, 18 on Dexterity, and 99 on Faith. Golden Vow and Howl of Shabriri are going to be our main buffs. If you wish, you can use the Blessing of the Earth Tree to counter the HP drain effect of the Blood-Sucking Tier, but it is completely optional. And as we are running 99 on Faith, feel free to use any incantation you wish. I was testing Born of Flame, but it's not as good as you might think it would be. As you can see, I have my Scatter Blessing on the level 20. If you want to deal the same damage I'll be dealing on the hardest DLC bosses, be sure to have it on the level 20 as well. Now I'll show you how to use this build. First we have to use a Flask of Wondrous Physic, then we are going to cast Blessing of the Earth Tree if we wish. It's completely optional. Now we are going to cast Golden Vow, and immediately after that, optional as well, we can use a Pickled Turtleneck. Then we are going to use our body buff. In this case it's Howl of Shabriri, but you can also use Flame Grant Me Strength. However, that one doesn't last as long as Howl of Shabriri, but it doesn't make you take extra damage. Refill your FP, your HP, and with that you should be ready to go. If you want to deal more damage with this build, be sure to hit your target with the Hefty or regular Oil Pod before using the skill. I forgot to mention that you can deal even more damage by using the poison buffs, because they stack very well with the healing features of the Blasphemous Blade. However, it's completely optional, and as the build is already pretty good, I'm not gonna use them. The important part here will in this
Do I already have that or not? Well, guys, I'm considering it at this point. I don't have that. Whatever 8% more damage thing, but it's still pretty cool. So I could go pretty crazy with this build. The problem is I don't have a lot of the things he's asking me for. I have that though. That looks like that's it. It's kind of sad.
In this video, I'm gonna show you the most broken build for the Blasphemous Blade to completely destroy Elden Ring in Rubik plus 7. Normally, this is the damage you deal with this weapon if your character is not properly optimized. But with the following setup, you will be able to deal real damage. With this one, we are going to use the Blasphemous Blade plus 10, any seal we have available to cast turn buffs, and any weapon with the Raptor of the Vistach of War to easily dodge any difficult attack. I'm gonna be using the Rakshas's armor set that will increase our damage by a total of 8% when wearing the entire set. I am doing this because we are in Newbie plus 7, so we will need more damage. However, if you are not very used to the movesets of the boss fights, I recommend you to go for defense, because in Newbie plus 7 the bosses deal more damage and you can get one-shotted if you use this one. The best talismans we can use for this build are the Shard of Alexander, the Fire Scorpion Charm, the Talisman of the Dread, and the All Lord's Talisman. In our Flask of Wondrous Physic, we are going to use the Blood-Sucking Crack Tier and the Flame Shrouding Crack Tier. This build consumes a decent amount of stamina, so be sure to All Lord's Talisman.
What?
In our Flask of Wondrous Physic, we are
Blood-sucking cracked tear. Not have. But I have the flame shouting cracked tear. It's not the blood-sucking one. It's just this build feels so like brain dead. Gosh. Like it feels like I'm gonna like just play the game on easy mode. Wait a minute, I have Blade of Millennia at full level. Why don't I make a whole build on Blade of Millennia? Blade of... wait. Best katanas. No, I want to see where she ranks first.
The katanas are one of the more popular weapon classes in Elden Ring, and for very good reason. They have nice range, very quick movesets, good variety.
Hand of Millennia's an 8
Split magic damage, so in most cases, the Hand of Millennia is just gonna straight up out-damage it. Which with a dexterity build, nothing else out-damages the Hand of Millennia anyway, unless you do include like weapon buffs. Now in terms of their moveset, the Sword of Night does get the same heavy attack as a Serpent Bone Blade, in that cool double swiping attack, which as I mentioned is gonna do more damage than all the other heavy attacks, and as of the recent patch, it actually does come out very fast now. Now the problem that I have with this heavy attack, with this weapon in particular, is that the weapon skill already does get a nice sideward swiping attack that can stun lock enemies. I like to have my moveset complement to the skill, and this one just kind of clashes with it instead. This weapon would have benefited much more if it was having like the regular poking attack heavy, but unfortunately there actually is no poking heavy attack with this katana. Now as for the skills themselves, I do prefer Witching Hour Slash over Waterfowl Dance. but they both do have their pros and cons. Now, Witching Hour Slash is a nice 3-hit combo, whereas Hand of Millennia is actually a 4-hit combo. Sword of Night does get a bit more bleed build-up, and actually is going to be a bit more expensive. And Hand of Millennia, with its 4-hit combo, is going to have better synergy with the multi-hit talismans. It also is going to get a bit more damage, but it does have a longer animation, and it consumes a lot more stamina. Now, the Hand of Millennia actually does get the option of follow-up attacks. You can get a second and a third additional input, and these don't consume much FP at all, and getting the entire combo off can result in very high amounts of damage. Now, this is obviously going to be better against enemies that can be staggered, because against enemies that cannot be staggered, it's probably not going to go very well. It's a long animation and very high stamina cost, so it does make the skill very situational, which is kind of why I like the Sword of Night a bit more. It doesn't actually get any follow-up inputs, but the skill does come out pretty fast, and it does have the option of a charged version as well, which this charged version does actually make it do more damage and make it do more stance damage than the Hand of Millennia, all while also getting a bit more bleed build-up. Even if you do include all the multi-hit talismans that are probably going to win for that exact reason, it makes it to delay the follow-up. I just think the scripting, it has low requirements, doesn't weigh very much, and it is one of 2 infusible katanas, and katanas can, especially things like Unsheath, which is like one of the best skills in the entire game, and as of the recent patch, it just gotten even better because of things like the Rolana's cameo. Now, I still think that the Nagakiba is like the direct upgrade to this weapon. Even though it does get a little bit less damage, it just gets the better moveset with its heavy attack pokes both one-handed and two-handed, and it just gets much more range. Now, normally when I do consider something directly outclassed, I still wouldn't put it into the S tier, but for the Uchi Katana's sake, I still think it's useful enough for it to be considered an S tier, because there are some people out there that don't really care much about the range and just want to have damage, which the Uchi Katana is going to be that option for you, and I think it's extremely low requirements compared to the Nagakiba is going to be the biggest difference too, because Nagakiba gets a 22 dexterity requirement and an 8-inch strength requirement. Personally consider it to be, still is going to be very useful for a couple of reasons. One, it actually is going to be an early somber based weapon, so it's very easy to upgrade, and obviously its skill is just insane. It isn't a reskin version of Unsheath, works the exact same way, but it just turns it into a magic projectile instead. Now, I actually did just touch on Unsheath and compare it to the Moonveil skill Transient Moonlight in one of my recent videos, where I actually ranked all the different types of stance skills, so I'm not going to really go into detail again, but if you did want like a TLDR, the Unsheath skill actually does do more damage. It also does do the same stance damage with a heavy attack, but as for the light attack version, the Moonveil can actually get more stance damage, and being that it's a lot quicker, and including with things like crouch cancelling, you can stance break enemies really quickly with this. And also, I think the Moonveil just gets better synergy with the Rolana's cameo, because the Moonveil skill can just be used as a projectile option. That heavy attack just goes ridiculously far, and obviously with the Rolana's cameo, you have to charge it up for a second first. Now, in most cases, when you're fighting larger bosses, you're probably still better off just like using the skill uncharged, but obviously if you have a projectile, you can set it a safer distance, and then fully charge it with the Rolana's cameo, and this benefit of 45% more damage. It's such an easy to use and amazing weapon in this game that you can put it in the hands of anybody and they're just going to succeed. I think the only unfortunate thing about the weapon is that it still has to compete with things like the Wing of Estelle and the Death's Poker for an intelligence and dexterity based weapon, and it still actually is somewhat outclassed by things like the Uchi Katana or Nagakiba with Unsheath in terms of damage, but I think its synergy with the Rolana's cameo, the distance that it actually does go, and the light attack version of the skill, that one actually does get more damage with basically every single infusion, but the damage difference...
No, I have Najikiba. It's right there. Najikiba. But how the hell is it that far up in the ranking?
is not that crazy. It's only about like 5 to 10 AR with almost every single infusion, but one big difference is going to be the range. The Nagakiba is like the longest katana in the game, and it's like not even close. This thing just hits at such insane distances, and it's just going to have the speed and damage of a katana, and it also does get the best moveset too, because both one-handed and two-handed is going to be a poking attack. And as of the recent patch, these uncharged heavies are just so much faster, and you can just keep spamming the uncharged heavies any single time that you actually go up against enemies like weaker to piercing damage or really resist to slashing damage. Now, as I've mentioned with infusible katanas, these get so many amazing options. Things like Bloodblade are one of the best skills in the entire game, because it can just be like a better version of the Reduvia, and putting it with the Nagakiba is quite literally the best option, because it can get some of the most damage and actually get some of the most range too, because it actually does get a hitbox with the weapon directly, and obviously the Nagakiba just gets ridiculous range, so this makes for a very broken pairing. And also the existence of Unsheath is there as well, and with the range of the Nagakiba, it kind of feels like you're just using a projectile with how far that it actually can lunge. Like hitting at that distance, doing like 30 stance damage while only consuming like 8 FP, and also if you have the Rolana's cameo and wait for it to fully charge, you're just doing such stupid amounts of damage too. Even though I do consider Moonveil a little bit better because it is more user friendly, and I think the range of the weapon can just cheese enemies a lot harder, but if you're a player that doesn't really care much about having a projectile, Nagakiba is going to be the better option by a long shot, and also it can be infused, so you have such great versatility. You can pair it alongside any single type of infusion, any single type of build, switch up your skills back and forth as well, and almost every single build that you actually you try to go with this thing, whether it be charged heavy attacks, skill spamming, R1 spamming, power stance, jumping attacks, it doesn't matter. Like, the Nugget Keyboard is like the best option for every single one of those things. Okay, that is the video completed. As always, let me know.
The Nugget Keyboard, the guy I had in my pocket for so damn long. But I'm sticking with the Uji Katana. I didn't know this was my GOAT from the day one. I knew he was my GOAT. I knew he was. It's just that I never felt the damage. And that's why we're gonna make a build. Okay? Uji Katana build. Elden Ring. Bro, there's so many videos.
The katanas are well known for being the perfect tool to get the most out of the blade status effect in a dexterity and arcane build. But what if I told you that you can completely destroy the game with a legendary katana in a faith build? In this video, I'll show you which I believe is the strongest build for the Uchi katana, and I'll use it to defeat every main boss of the base game and the DLC without taking a single hit. For this one, we are gonna use the Uchi katana on plus 25 with the Unsheath Ash of War on the Flame Mart on Sacred Affinity, depending on the boss fight we are going to face. We need any skill we have available to cast our main buffs, and any weapon with the Raptor of the Mistache Ward or easily dodge any difficult attack. I'm gonna be rocking the Gold Masks racks, the Queen's Bracelets, the Old Sorcerer's Leg Wraps, and the Commoner's Headband on its altered version, merely for aesthetical reasons. But remember that if you want to deal more damage, you can also use the Rakshasa's Armor Set. That will increase our damage by a total of 8% if we wear the entire set. The best talismans we can use for this build are the Shard of Alexander, the Relax Cameo, the Fire Scorpion Charm, and the All Lord's Talisman. If we are gonna use the sacred version of the Uchi Katana, then we will use the Sacred Scorpion Charm. And in some boss fights where you can defeat enemies, in this case Renala, Radagon, you can get a significant 50% damage boost if you use the Crusade Insignia. In our Flask of Wondrous Physique, we are gonna use the Blood-Soaking Crack Tier and the Flame Shrouding Crack Tier. If we are going to be dealing holy damage, then we will use the Holy Shrouding Crack Tier. If you want to increase your fire damage significantly, you can also use the Hefty Oil Pots or the regular Oil Pots. These items increase the next fire damage instance by 65% and 50%.
Bro, this
This can
guy's in
consume
love
a
with oil
decent
pots,
amount of
bro.
stamina, so be sure to grab some pickled turtle eggs to boost your stamina regeneration speed. But in this particular case, these items are not a must. In order to obtain the max performance of this weapon and to have an optimal build, we are going to use 60 on Vigor, 21 on Mind, 40 on Endurance, 12 on Strength, 30 on Dexterity, and 99 on Faith. Golden Vow and Hall of Shabriri are going to be our main buffs. If you want, you can also use the Blessing of the Earth Tree to counter the HP drain effect of the Blood-Soaking Crack Tier. As you can see, I have my Scattery Blessing on the level 20. If you want to deal the max damage possible in the DLC, be sure to have it on the level 20 as well. Now I'll show you how to use this build. First we have to use our Flask of Wondrous Physique. Then if we want, we can cast Blessing of the Earth Tree, and immediately after that we go with Golden Vow. Then completely optional, the Pickled Turtleneck. Just after that we refill our FP and we cast our body buff. In this case it's Hall of Shabriri, and it's actually the best for this build. Once again, refill your FP, your HP, and with that you should be ready to go. But if you want to deal additional damage to your enemy, be sure to hit it with a hefty oil pot or with a regular oil pot, so your next fire attack is gonna
Entonces hay internet nuevo. ¿Y qué tal está?
No.
¿Ah?
Se ve que está rápido. Está bueno.
Sí, pues mami todavía está en la tele.
Ponerle a ella que mucho, que es un gusto pues ayudarles, y que también muchas gracias por darme trabajo también. Y les preguntas si están en casa. Y están en casa, preguntarle. Y todavía, o ponerle así, o todavía, si todavía están organizando la casa. Porque como ahí llevaron todo ahora.
Está-
The katanas are well known for being the perfect tool to get the most out of the bleed status effect in a dexterity and arcane build. But what if I told you that you can completely destroy the game with a legendary katana in a Fate build? In this video, I'll show you which I believe is the strongest build for the Uchi katana, and I'll use it to defeat every main boss of the base game and the DLC without taking a single hit. For this one, we are gonna use the Uchi katana of plus 25 with the Unsheath Ash of War on the Flame Mart or Sacred Affinity, depending of the boss fight we are going to face. We need any skill we have available to cast or buffs, and any weapon with the Raptor Optimist Ash of War to tag. I'm gonna be rocking the gold masks rags, the queen's bracelets, the old sorcerer's leg wraps, and the commoner's headband on its altered version, merely for aesthetical reasons. But remember that if you want to deal more damage, you can also use the Rakshasa's armor set. That will increase our damage by a total of 8% if we wear the entire set. The best talismans we can use for this build are the Shard of Alexander, the Relana's Cameo, the Fire Scorpion Charm, and the Old Lord's Talisman. If we are gonna use the sacred version of the Uchi Katana, then we will use the Sacred Scorpion Charm. And in some boss fights where you can defeat enemies, in this case Renala, Radagon, you can get a significant 15% damage boost if you use the Crusade Insignia. In our Flask of Wondrous Physique, we are going to use the Blood-Sucking Cracked Tear and the Flame Shrouding Cracked Tear. If we are going to be dealing holy damage, then we will use the Holy Shrouding Cracked Tear. If you want
Bro, this looks so much freaking work, dude. Oh, crap.
to increase your fire damage significantly, you can also use the hefty oil bolts or the regular oil bolts. These items increase the next fire damage instance by 65% and 50%. This build consumes a decent amount of stamina, so be sure to grab some pickled turtlenecks to boost your stamina regeneration speed. But in this particular case, these items are not a must. In order to obtain the max performance of this weapon and to have an optimal build, we are going to use 60 on vigor, 21 on mind, 40 on endurance, 12 on strength, 30 on dexterity, and 99 on faith. Golden Vow and Hall of Shabriri are going to be our main buffs. If you want, you can also use the Blessing of the Earth Tree to counter the HP drain.
Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you the best Yuji Katana Nagakiba Katana build guide in Elden Ring. Now, these katanas go very well together, and they deal a ton of damage, so that's without any buffs there. We can actually do quite a bit of damage. I have the keen scaling on these, and I'll be showing you a build at level 150. Now, if you're a higher level, I'll show you where to put the stats, or if you're lower level. So we went with 50 Vigor here, 22 Mind, 28 Endurance, which allows us to get our poise up to 56 in a medium roll. I also went with 18 Strength, which is required to hold the Nagakiba, so we can go with that, and then 70 Dexterity. Now, if you're a lower level, go with lower Dexterity. This is the stat we're going to scale up our damage with, so as you increase in levels, you can increase that. I also went with 15 Faith and 16 Arcane. This allows us to use Flame Grant Me Strength, as well as some Dragon Communion and Blood Flies, which is going to be useful for setting up bleed. So I would recommend go with the White Mask here alongside the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, as putting both of these on will allow us to deal 30% more damage after triggering Blood Loss, which is actually quite a bit of extra damage. I also went with the Rod and Sword Insignia here and the Claw Talisman. So this is if you want to do jump attacks. If you don't want to do jump attacks, then we can also go with like the Shard of Alexander with double slash is really nice, but also we could go with the Millicent's Prosthesis. Will increase our dexterity by 5 and the damage we deal with successive attacks, and we can attack pretty quickly with these weapons. So
You know what? Fuck you. I'm just gonna. Oh, I don't know, dude. I don't want to just go in there blind.
Art thou
What's up, dude? Rebirth. Oh, snap. Yo, what? Wait. What? Why? Why am I so black? What the flip, bro? Ah, that is not. Just got a blank minutes. No. Wait, what? I feel like I'm dying. Yes.
Be not alarmed, nor afeared.
I'm
I
not.
would birth thee as a sweeting,
Also, like to
fair
have Frostbite
and
Breeze on here,
fine.
but also I like to have the Blood Flame Blade. So typically what we're going to be doing to set up is going with Flame Granny Strength. You can also put a dagger in the offhand with Golden Bow on it. Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you an OP bleed build with the Yuji Katana. You want to get her, so I'll start with the stats as we're leveling. I'm using a level 50 build here, but you want to get your vigor up to 30 first. That is like the main thing you want to be doing with a build, is just get the vigor up to 30, and then you can focus on your damage stats. So I have my mind and endurance both at 32. You can go lower on the mind. I just want to have a bit more FP, because I do have some spells and incantations you can use here that make this actually a really, really strong build. So the mind is not important, but get your endurance up there, as it's going to help you with running around and attacking. Strength at 22, so we can use weapons like the Blasphemous Blade if you want to swap that in, because there's some bosses that are just weak to it. We have our dexterity at 52, but you can take points from your strength and your mind and put them into that. Our intelligence at 9. Faith we have at 15, and there's a reason for that. We want to have our faith at 15 and our arcane at 17. Arcane's going to help out with bleed, but these stats you would focus on later on in the game. We just want to be able to get our 10 faith and 10 arcane as quick as possible to use the Dragon Communion seal. But you can alternatively, if you don't want to use that, you can use the finger seal. It's just lower stats. You have to 10 faith, so you may need a couple points in faith. But this allows us to do some really crazy stuff, which I'll show you guys how to do. As for our equipment, I'm using the White Mask because this is going to increase your attack power by 10% when you deal bleed damage, which is the focus of this build. Same thing as the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. This actually does 20%, and they stack, so you get an extra 20% plus 10. It ends up being like 31% or 32%, which is a nice addition to your attack power after bleed, which we'll be doing pretty frequently. I'm using Blade's armor here. Now, the armor itself doesn't matter as much as the White Mask is important. If you can see just above my head here, the poise number 64.
I don't know, bro. What do I do? I don't want to do all this. I don't want to do all this, bro.
Our cutoffs are 51. You want to have at least 51 poise as early as possible, so whatever armor combinations makes your Elden Bling happy. But you want to get at least 51 poise. 56 is ideal, and then 61 is another cutoff, so this increases the amount of posture damage we're able to deal, which is really nice to have. So just try to get your poise up as high as possible quickly, but that's not a huge priority if you can't get it up that high, because it's important to make sure that you have enough endurance, that you're medium load rolling. You don't want to ever fat roll. It's a big no-no in Souls games. As for Talisman, I'm also using the Green Turtle Talisman, so increase our stamina recovery speed. I find this is good just for getting around and moving and attacking. It's just great to have your endurance come back quicker. Lord of Blood's Exaltation for that extra 20% damage, which is huge. Shard of Alexander greatly boosts the attack power of skills.
The katanas are well known for being the perfect video. I'll show you which I believe is the strongest build for the Uchi katana, and I'll use it to defeat the remaining boss of the base game on the DLC without taking a single hit. For this one, we are gonna use the Uchi katana on plus 25 with the Unshin Ashura. On the flame art or
Flame art. How do I do a flame art on a... I'm gonna go to the damn guy. What scared about what? Ugh.
Now, those are of a challenge if I them well.
Do I have that? So I gotta go here. Gotta go Ashes of War. Wait, what? How? I'm gonna crash out, bro. So if I click... Let me duplicate this real quick.
Oh, your divinity have mercy and grant me forgiveness. Here is it. I didn't notice. I'll be doing my job. Just lay out.
I already played this entire part. I'm just trying to like be able to do the level. Now I have two of them. Great. No? Fire would make my thing go down like crazy. Wait, flame arc. What? King, Ujikatana, or Ujikatana? I'm good with this.
On the Flame Mart or Sacred Affinity, depending on the boss fight we are going to face. We needn't taking a single hit. For this one, we are going to use the Uchigatana on plus 25 with the Unsheath Ash of War on the Flame Mart or Sacred Affinity. DLC without taking a single hit. For this one, we are going to use the Uchigatana on plus 25 with the Unsheath Ash of War on the Flame Mart.
Flame art.
Or Sacred Affinity, depending on the boss fight we are going to face. We need anything we have available.
Finger seal. Finger seal. Sorry.
Also caster debuffs, and any weapon with the Raptor Optimist Ash of War to easily dodge any difficult attack. I'm gonna be rocking the Gold Mask's racks, the Queen's bracelets, the Old Sorcerer's leg wraps, and the Commoner's headband on its altered version, merely for aesthetical reasons. But remember that if you want
Really for cynical reasons, he says.
Art thou now?
Rebirth, please. Yes.
Now.
Let's see, I'm level 205.
deal more damage, you can also use the Rakshasa's armor set. That will increase our damage by a total of 8% if we wear the entire set. The best talismans we can use for this build are the Shard of Alexander, the Fit enemies. In this case, Renala, Radagon, you can get a significant 50% damage boost if you use the Crusade insignia. In our flask of Wondrous Physic, we are going to use the Blood-Soaking Crack Tier and the Flame Shrouding Crack Tier. If we are going to be dealing holy damage, then we will use the Holy Shrouding Crack Tier. If you want to increase your fire damage significantly, you can also use the Hefty Oil Pots or the regular Oil Pots. These items increase the next fire damage instance by 65% and 50%. This build consumes a decent amount of stamina, so be sure to place your pick after the legs to boost your stamina regeneration speed. But in this particular case, these items are not a must. In order to obtain the max performance of this weapon and to have an optimal build, we are going to use 60 on Vigor, 21 on Mind, 40 on Endurance, 12 on Strength, 30 on Dexterity, and 99 on Faith. Golden Vow and Hallow which ability are going to be our main buffs. If you want, you can also use the Blessing of the Earth tree to counter the HP drain effect of the blood sucking from Tyr. As you can see, I have my Scattering Blessing on the level 20. If you want to deal the max damage possible in the DLC, be sure to have it on the level 20 as well. Now I'll show you how to use this build. First we have to use our Flask of Bonus Feasting, then if we want we can cast Blessing of the Earth tree, and immediately after that we go with Golden Bow. Then completely optional buffs. If you want you can also use the Hefty Oil Paragon. You can get a significant 50% damage boost if you use the Crusade Insignia. In our Flask of Bonus, the Relax. The katanas are well known for being the perfect tool to pick as armor set. That also you can see I have my Scattering Blessing on the level 20.
Okay, today I'm going to show you on how to come to the tree worship sanctum. This is a very sacred hidden location in shadow of the Earth Tree. Now, I'm going to provide you with every single step to be able to come to this location and find a lot of good stuff, a lot of loot. So, if you want to skip the bit, and I hope a quick jump, an enemy, there you go, above you, here. We ship passage we expecting from Safran. Oh, an iris and from hopefully this video was very helpful. Try to be as detailed as I can and as fast as you can to help you guys out. Also a like is appreciated. From hopefully this video was very helpful. Try to be as detailed as I can and as fast as you can to help you guys out. Also a like is appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And
oh, get on my face. Wait, what?
Be not alarmed. I would go.
This is too painful. Bolster Skoda tree blessings. What is my blessing on my Skoda tree? You know what? Fuck it, man. going all out. Oh, fuck. Wow. I'm gonna be cooked. I'm cooked. Maybe just haven't played the game in a while. That's probably the reason why. So I'm gonna come real quick. Jump attack. I feel like I shouldn't have this on my build. I should have something else. This is poise. I don't know what the freak poise is, man. Should I just go all defense? Because he does use fire at some point, so I'm gonna do that as well. Oh, crap. Got molested. When I mean molested, I got molested. Okay. Fire, come at me. Okay, I'm actually not being serious, but okay. I feel I can beat this. I can definitely beat this. No? Just need you by my side while I'm there, my boy. Ready for this, my guy? Better be, dude. Wait, no. Come here, boy. Wait, no. Oh. Wait. Oh my gosh. Come here. Back up! Back it back up, my boys! No. Wait! Stop molesting him! Wait. I don't have... Fuck. Wait. Bro just dropped 2 moves in class. I can't do this without help, okay? That's it. I can't. I don't want to waste my time making a build. Okay? We met this guy along the way. We're gonna help him fight. We're letting him fight us. Alright? It's more fun that way, not gonna lie. Hold on. Just give me 1 second, guys. I gotta go eat. I'll be back, chat.